All right. Welcome into the A to Z Sports Big Orange podcast. I'm Charlie Burris. That is Zach Reagan. Wherever you listen throughout the world, thank you very much for tuning in to our little show here. The Big Orange podcast talks everything Vols every week. And if you want to find us on the regular, go over to the A to Z Sports Podcast Network feed on Apple or Spotify. When you get there, rate, review, but you got to subscribe. If you do subscribe, you won't miss our shows when we drop them on Mondays. Speaking of Mondays, it is one right now. And that means we're live on YouTube. A to Z Sports Tennessee Volunteers on YouTube is the place to go, and you can find us there. But hit that notification bell when you get there on top of the subscribe button. If you do that, you'll be notified when we go live, and you can be just like all of the folks in our comments who come in and hang out and have a good time with us every single week. Why don't you just drop in and be one of them? Also, at Charlie_Burris, at ZachTNT, at A to Z Sports, Facebook.com/A to Z Sports National, A to Z Sports.com for everything Zach writes on the internet. All right, Zach. So we left off last week and we said, we better see some movement. Something better happen in the transfer portal with Tennessee. I got to see it to believe it. And some stuff did happen. Some good, some bad. You still don't have a quarterback. We're going to talk about all of it. What's up, Zach?
Man, what a week. What a weekend. Between the playoff games and college, NFL, and then this portal stuff, January it's just an extension of December at this point. Two of the craziest months in football, and there's not even as many games being played. Well, games off the field, I guess, but we'll get into that plenty with some of this transfer stuff. But it's definitely been a lot going on this past week since the last time we talked.
It has been so much. I mean, up to this very second, there are tweets coming out. I think the latest one, Matt Zenitz from, is he CBS?
Yes, it's 24/7 CBS.
He dropped in and said that despite Tennessee's best efforts, it's looking like Sam Leavitt is a lean towards LSU at quarterback. And there's probably no better place to start than that right there. The quarterback position, because there were multiple developments today. Sam and Joey Aguilar also. Joey Aguilar,
as we started this show, before we get into it, because I'm sure people will mention it, that Tulane edge Jordan Norman just committed to Tennessee. VolQuest broke that, so we kept our tradition of getting a commit alive while we do this show.
So recent, in fact, that I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, seconds ago, literally, as you were going through the intros there.
Yeah, you were telling me about that live. That's a nice pickup. I cannot cast aspersions at all on what they have done on defense. And we're going to cover all of that because there's some really huge stuff that happened as far as that goes. You've basically rebuilt your defense, more or less. They've done a pretty nice job there. Offensive side of the ball, there's been virtually nothing. You got that offensive lineman, Ori Williams, committed, probably going to be your right tackle. I think that's the thinking on him. And sort of radio silence from there. And I guess was it middle of last week, the news comes out that Tennessee is going to get a visit from Sam Leavitt, who went to LSU, and Lane Kiffin showed his butt and got caught in this massive thing where DeMond Williams from Washington is leaving for LSU after he already signed a deal with Washington. Washington holds him to the contract. He decides to stay at Washington, so LSU doesn't have a quarterback. All of that happens while Sam Leavitt is on campus at LSU. The story seems to be he saw that and was kind of like, okay, peace. I'm out of here, since clearly you're trying to get somebody else in here while I'm here. So he comes to Tennessee, stays for 2 days at Tennessee, and seems to have gone well. And at the end of that, Lane Kiffin comes into Tennessee's own backyard. Literally, he tweets from the Knoxville airport, the terminal there. And apparently he has come back, and while Sam Leavitt was here, talked Sam Leavitt into going to LSU, which is it's pretty unconscionable to let another coach do that. You can make up for it by smashing Lane Kiffin's head in here in a few months when you get to play him. That's in Knoxville, I think.
Yes, in November, next to last
Yeah.
game of the year.
So you have a really great opportunity there. But if he comes to your city, takes your quarterback, already ruined your program way back in the day.
16 years ago today.
So there you go. Hey, glad that it could be this day of all days. Ruined your program back then, takes your quarterback now, and then comes into your stadium and beats you. It's one of the more embarrassing things that has happened to Tennessee in some amount of time. And that I'm taking into account a 21-point loss to the Commodores over there in Vandy. And that's pretty unacceptable. I'm not gonna lie. They've done probably overall a better job than I thought they were going to in the portal. But if that actually happens, I mean, the report as of now is 11's gone. Tennessee tried. They really made kind of a last ditch effort apparently, and it just didn't work. But if that really happens and he comes in here and he beats you, I mean, dude, I don't know. Because clearly, if they're making this last-ditch effort, they wanted this guy. They wanted him bad. I was kind of split on it. He has a pretty serious injury. Also, he's shown, apparently his brother is a real problem. Kind of a Diego Pavia-ish situation where the family is, out there living loud and large. And, it's a little split, but he's obviously considered the number one guy in the portal.
He's a good player.
Yeah. I mean, he took him to the playoff, played like a dog in the playoff. And Tennessee clearly wanted him. And Lane Kiffin showed up at your house and took your dinner and walked away. And what are you going to do about it? Because the reports you've heard, it's working on defense. But the stuff that you've heard coming out is that they're still being a little conservative money-wise. They're still, I think the main thing that I've heard that concerns me is that Tennessee is they're spooked by all the stuff that happened with the NCAA in the last few years. And so they don't want to, step too far over the line. And if that's true, obviously I hear that and I go, the NCAA and what army? Like, who's going to come and enforce any of that? Who's doing any of that? Who's following the rules right now? If you're actually following the rules right now, you're the only person doing it. You're the only one. I've said it for millennia at this point, going back to my days with Swain in 2016. College football is a pit of vipers. You have to be a snake in this business, or else you will get bit, or else Lane Kiffin will come to Knoxville and take your quarterback. And I don't mean to start this show off negatively because really good things have happened defensively in the portal. But that really gets me. It really, really gets me. You can't let that happen. You just can't.
Yeah, I have a lot of mixed emotions on all of it. I mean, from the top, I think Sam Levitt would have been a good player for Tennessee. I think he would have fit the offense well. He's dynamic. He can run with the ball, plays hard, competes. Reminds me a little bit of the way Hendon Hooker played at Tennessee, which we've said that Tennessee was missing. So just that alone, like in a vacuum, yeah, I'd like to have Sam Levitt running the offense and seeing how it goes. But when you add in everything else here, I thought Tennessee had a decent chance. We'll say it was Tuesday night when they said Sam Levitt's going to come visit Tennessee, and he stayed a little longer, which it made sense because he's going to Miami. So where else was he going to stay that extra day? So it was kind of, it just worked out where it made sense for him to stay, and it was kind of beneficial for Tennessee to get to host him an extra day. I thought maybe given Josh Heupel and Joey Hosley's past relationship with his brother, the aforementioned brother that's his agent, played for Heupel and Hosley at Utah State back in 2015. So they know this kid. They've been around this kid. They know the family and all that stuff. And I think that probably did help him a little bit. But Kiffin, the way I view this, the pettiness in me, I guess, the competitive side of me sees Kiffin come in and maybe this is what Josh Heupel did. Is this is kind of what it seems like. It's like, oh no, you're not. It's not even that I want Sam Levitt that bad. I don't want you to have him, and I don't want this to have happened. That you came to Knoxville, even if it was in an airport hangar or whatever the meeting was. And like the fact that he did that, maybe it pushed hype on them to say, hey, let's make things a little bit harder here, and let's not go down without a fight. But I think at the same time, you really have to consider that foot injury and how much money you're going to spend on this kid. And there's just, I think he'll probably be fine, but you don't know. He doesn't know. Heupel doesn't know. Kiffin doesn't know. Dallin Levitt, his brother, doesn't know. Like, nobody knows how he'll recover from this and if he'll have any setbacks. What if you re-injure it in the first game of the season? It's another Ricky Gibson type situation or Jamon McCoy type situation. And then you've spent $5 million, $6 million on this kid. That's tough. I mean, you've probably tanked your season at that point because you're going to have to immediately turn to a younger quarterback, and all that money that you could have spent on other positions, defense, offense, whatever the case, you've sunk into a money pit, basically, of a quarterback. On the flip side, he may go to LSU and win the Heisman Trophy and beat you in Knoxville and take LSU to the playoff for the first time, or for the first time in the expanded playoff. And then that's a tough look, right? Then everybody's like, hey, why didn't you offer another $1 million to this kid and get this done? Like, that's what everybody's going to say if all that transpires in November. And I completely get it. But for Heupel and them, what should they have done? Should they have went and paid $6 million for this kid? Like, I don't know if they could have done anything other than what they did, being, outside of being sleazy and slimy like Kiffin. And Kiffin at this point, like, I feel like I've been soft on that guy. And until he's kind of pulled this over the last few months with the way he left Ole Miss and not coaching them in the playoff, I can't imagine, as a parent of one of those players, as a colleague, as just anybody close to that program, how you could desert your team when they're playing for a championship. This is a season-long deal, and you jumped off the boat before everybody else did, and you're supposed to be the leader. And I think people have seen that now, and it's like, okay, this guy hasn't changed. And then you see this desperation and then kind of taunting Tennessee, tweeting stuff out there. That stuff's going to come back around eventually. Like, I feel like this thing at LSU, maybe it goes great for him, but I see this thing crashing and burning because I don't think the way he does things is sustainable, and he's running out of chances. But anyway, he's comfortable giving the kid that much money. Should Heupel? I think that's the question we have to ask, and everybody has to answer is, where was the line in the sand, and how far was too far to go to get this kid? And clearly they drew that line, and they didn't feel comfortable going past it. And, we'll find out in 10, 11 months if that was the right decision or not.
It's a very fair conversation to have because he went from Tennessee to Miami. He didn't sign with Kiffin when Kiffin showed up. Apparently, it seems like it happened kind of right now, like as we're doing this. I think it may have, somebody in the comments said that it came out as done. But he went to Miami, and apparently behind the scenes, Miami said, "Yeah, we're not paying up for that." Now
they're in a kind of similar spot. They like their young quarterbacks too.
They do, but I've also seen a rumor that they may be gathering up the Brinks truck to drop it at the front door of Ty Simpson, who, if you don't know, you can say you're going to the NFL draft all day long, and until you get drafted by a team, it doesn't mean a whole lot. So,
Miami's last two quarterbacks, for example.
Yes, Carson Beck did the same exact thing, and so maybe they come in there $7 million for Ty Simpson or something crazy like that. But yeah, they got good young guys. I think Oregon is kind of similar. They got young guys they believe in. They're bringing in Dylan Raiola, who's probably at best just kind of a bridge to get them there, which is sort of what Tennessee's looking for. I just go to this kid's value is also dictated by what else is out there.
Oh yeah,
and what else is, because is he a $5 million quarterback? No, he's not. Not in my opinion. If you wanted to actually put a dollar value on this kid's play, No, he's not.
I don't know how to value any of these kids for what it's worth. It's so crazy.
Fair. But I mean, the game that I watched the most of him in this season was against Mississippi State, and he sucked in that game. He was terrible. So, he's not a, God among men. And then he got injured after that.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lord knows what shape he's going to be in when he comes and is actually able to play for LSU.
Yeah, no spring practice.
The
reports.
But the thing that I look at is what is the rest of the market, and right now it's Bo Perbula, who I don't know. You could bring him. When I watch him, the kid could barely throw a forward pass, and that scares me. I mean, you got to be able to get the ball downfield in this offense. He could run a little bit, and he put up flashy numbers against Kansas, but I watch him in SEC play, and it was wretched. And I don't see it. Maybe, hey, Heupel's offense can be very kind to quarterbacks, but also it can be Joe Milton, where it just doesn't translate for whatever reason. And I got to think if you bring in Perbula, it's a real three-man race. If George McIntyre doesn't leave, it's a real three-man race going into spring and fall. I don't think that it's a given that George McIntyre couldn't beat out Bo Perbula.
I agree.
Where my head goes is look all the way across the group of five. Is there not somebody? Look what you just did with Joey.
I thought the James Madison kid would have been the perfect fit, and he's at UCF.
Yeah.
And you could have went and got that kid, Alonzo Barnett. I mean, you could have.
Exactly.
He's from Greensboro, the same high school as Faison Brandon and Hendon Hooker's hometown. Like, there's just so much there that makes sense.
And if they went out there and decisively had done something like that, just went to that kid and went, we'll give you $2 million. Come on down here. And he's coming for that. And if they did that decisively, I'd be like, okay, all right. Clearly they see something in this kid. They see something. And I didn't watch ODU play this year. And hey, that could be something there. And that would have been fine. And I kind of go, why don't you just do that now? Look at what's left out there. And then behind the scenes, well, you're running out of time, frankly. And you may be out of time. You may have just wasted all of your time. Because when's portal close?
Friday.
It's quiet period now.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So basically your time's up. But what you could have been doing was just scanning the entire group of five and going, let's go throw a couple $1 million at that kid, get him to leave wherever. I don't know like that kid at North Texas or something like that. Obviously he followed his coach to Oklahoma State, but somebody in a similar vein, that would have made complete sense to me. And I'm not gonna bellyache over, oh, we lost out on Sam Levitt for this kid. It's you put up gaudy numbers at that level, there's a real potential that you're pretty good. Trinidad Chambliss came out of nowhere. Like absolutely nothing.
Cam Ward.
I mean, Eastern Washington. Who knew? And he's the number 1 pick in the draft the next year. I mean, come on. And so if they had gone out and decisively done something like that, maybe there's that. I mean, it's Kyle Beach in the comments. He brings up DJ Lagway hasn't signed with anybody yet.
I thought about that earlier.
Maybe they go that direction.
Yeah. What would you think? He's talented.
He's definitely talented. He's a head case.
Napier was a disaster at Florida, though.
He was.
We have to factor that in.
I just thought it was pretty clear that Lagway was a head case, though, and that really scares me. Super talented, but it seemed like he really got in his own ways. He would let one bad play turn into 5 bad plays, which
there are very few drama-free quarterbacks at this point. I mean, Ty Simpson, I guess, is one of the few, and even if you go back to his recruitment, I guess, depending on how you look at that, but I think it's probably just fair how it turned out in retrospect. But most of these quarterbacks that are in the portal or available come with some sort of, I don't know, red flag, if you will, if you want to say that, or at least it looks like a red flag. But maybe that's just the new normal that you kind of got to deal with now. And Tennessee's avoided that kind of stuff. They've tried to avoid that kind of stuff. They've got wrapped up in it a couple times with the Nico situation, which was a lot of family drama, and then the Boo Carter stuff, which maybe there's some red flags that they should not have ignored back in the summer and should have never let him back on the team. But they haven't pursued players that kind of have those red flags in the portal. Other teams have, and they've won with those players. And I think Heupel is starting to see, like, hey, you got to take some chances. Like, not everybody's going to be a perfect fit for your culture. Not everybody's going to be this perfect prospect that slides right into your room without any issues. Like, you got to manage that. That's why you're the coach. That's why you're paid $9 million a year. You've got to manage some of those things. And it seems like he's trying to make his job easier by not chasing some of those problems, which I get. It's totally fair, but sometimes you just have to deal with it. And I think Sam Levitt may have been one of those. Just, obviously all this around him with his brother and, leaving the team at Arizona State and however all that transpired. The fact that they were this aggressive after he supposedly committed to LSU, it's like maybe this is a changing of the thought process here from Heupel. And it may be too little too late for this cycle, unfortunately, at least at the quarterback position. But it's encouraging moving forward. With that said, though, you still got to go figure out this quarterback situation. I mean, I feel like the only chance you have to come out of this thing with, an A++ is if Ty Simpson somehow withdraws from the NFL draft. And I know that that's happened before. We mentioned in Miami, with Carson Beck and Cam Ward, but I don't think Ty Simpson's going to do that. That video he put out about being all Alabama and kind of, that being his legacy and the way his family's handled this, I don't think they're going to come out of the draft. They think they're going to be a first-round pick, and like we talked last week, they probably will be. Like, the quarterbacks tend to rise the closer you get to the draft just because NFL teams are so desperate. All these teams with new coaches are going to want to get a guy. They're going to like Ty Simpson. Outside of that, man, when Joey Aguilar not coming back, if it's not the Missouri kid, unless somebody jumps in the portal unexpected, you're going to have to take somebody younger to compete with McIntyre and Faison at this point, unless they fall in love with DJ Ladway or something. And I'm like you, I don't think that's probably going to happen. I think they probably see some of the same things that you do in him. But it's looking like George McIntyre might end up being the guy at this point.
I mean, a lot of Tennessee fans I've seen just, why don't we start GMAC? And fair enough, but the kid has to gain weight. And there's been a number of things that I've heard about why that may or may not be happening. And, whether it's his fault, whether it's not his fault, whether it, is it a health condition? Is it that he just doesn't commit himself to it? Is it whatever? And whatever it is, that has to happen. He will get snapped in half. And I don't know another way to say it. And that scares me. Now, the upper level of his ability, I think he's an SEC quarterback. You look at the throws he can make, for sure. And he's what is he, 6'7"?
6'6", I think.
6'6". Yeah, I mean, so very tall, lanky, can see over your offensive line. That's great, but he's gotta go win it. I did see somebody bring up an interesting name back here. It's right here. David Speaks. He says, Taron Dickens from Western Carolina. He says he's the next Trinidad Chambliss. Just watch. I looked this up. He does have video game numbers from Western Carolina, and I couldn't find any evidence where he's committed anywhere else. But let's see, 3,000. Listen to this. His 2025 stats: 3,508 yards passing, 38 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean,
yeah, I like that. I know
pretty nice.
It's lesser competition, but you're making the plays that are out there, and you're not playing with as much talent around you. I think that's something people forget too. That could be interesting. I mean, maybe Heupel does something like that. I mean, at this point, it's totally up in the air. I mean, we're really back to square one, exactly where we were a month ago at this time when we were just speculating about what Tennessee might do in the portal. But I mean, yes, an option like that, I think, would be smart. I mean, do you bring him in, though, to compete with McIntyre and Faison? I don't think you can give anybody like that the job. I mean, even Levitt, you're not technically like giving him the job. He's got to go win it, right? Like, everybody knows it would have been his job. Kind of like, almost like the Aguilar deal where he was so far out in front that it didn't matter. But That could be interesting. I think the thing with McIntyre, just back to him for a second, when you talked about starting him, even if he is who we think he is talent wise, and the weight thing doesn't end up being an issue, he's going to make mistakes as a redshirt freshman. I mean, he's never played meaningful SEC football. He's only got in garbage time. Somebody mentioned earlier in the comments that like maybe Tennessee wasted an opportunity to get him some time in the bowl game. I completely agree. I said before, maybe we both did, that they should play him in that bowl game, and especially after they lost, it was even easier to say. But you had nothing to gain there, and those would have been important reps for him, regardless of who was going to start this fall. I don't care if they bring in Levitt or not. You're not giving up on McIntyre. That would have been huge for him. But you cannot expect him to go out there as a year one starter and play perfect. Like, he's going to do some dumb stuff, and he's going to learn from it. He'll be better because of it. But that's part of being a young quarterback. And I don't think Heupel feels like he's in a spot where he can do that just because of the nature of college football at this point. I don't think Heupel's going into the season on the hot seat, but you lose a couple games you're not supposed to, and we've seen how quickly it can flip. It happened to James Franklin a year ago. It could happen to anybody.
I think you just see right now the Indiana Hoosiers. Now they got a killer of a coach, and that's something. But you just look at their roster construction, and I think you truly see the value of just having old guys. Vandy showed it this year. Vandy came in with a roster full of 24-year-olds and ran you off your own field. And they weren't all 5 stars. In fact, basically none of them were 5 stars. And they were just old, and they had been there, and they had done that, and they were just guys who had played a lot of college football, and they were just that you can have your 5-star out there, but they're young, and they they don't know what's going on. You look at the transformation of Ty Redmond, a really nice prospect, but he looked lost there at the beginning of the season. And over the course of the season, he got it together. But you can't just insert all that information into Ty Redmond's head. He has to go out there and play SEC football. And there's a ton of value in just getting old guys, it just seems like. And Indiana is example 1A, Vanderbilt is 1B. And you go down from there. Miami has a lot of that. Despite they have, more upper end talent from actual recruiting classes, but also they have a bunch of old transfer guys. And I mean, Joey is a great example. Him alone. Is he the most talented quarterback you're ever going to see? No, the kid was playing with a tumor in his arm that hurt every time he threw, supposedly. And he's the best quarterback that he had in the last 3 years. And he was just because he was wily. He made good decisions and just went out there and played football like the veteran quarterback that he was. So I will be big on bringing in older guys over a guy that hasn't played. But at what point do you have to give up the ghost, and it's going to have to be Faison Brandon, or it's going to have to be a George McIntyre? It kind of is what it is. But let's do cover quickly. I made myself think about it, Justin. We haven't talked at all about what happened with Joey Aguilar. His court case, they had a meeting today with the judge, I believe, and essentially what came out of that is that there's not going to be a decision made anytime soon. And so, did he get denied? No. But the fact that there's not going to be a decision, I think the buck has passed on Joey Aguilar. Sadly, I hate it. One of the cooler figures that we've seen in recent time at Tennessee, and I love this story. Loved what he did coming in here. Beat Florida in the swamp for the first time in forever. Amazing game against Georgia, yada, yada. But you're going to have to find a new guy, and that stinks. But
yeah, I mean, I guess if you don't, I mean, surely they'll add somebody. But if you didn't and this lingered and once the portal closes, it's nobody else can go in, but you can still get guys out of the portal. So this could go beyond Friday before they find somebody. And if they don't, maybe Joey, gets good news in like March or something, and you can bring him back. That seems like a long shot. I doubt that would happen, but maybe that's a kind of possibility that exists out there. But, outside of the quarterback stuff, though, the rest of it's been pretty fruitful, like you said at the top, for Tennessee lately. Like, they've done good work in the portal outside of the whole quarterback situation. They still need a running back. They still need some positions that they need to address via the portal. But defensively, they've added some nice names, and the fact that they were able to get Chaz Coleman, who was an LSU Ohio State battle, that's huge. The guy knows your defense. He's played in it, under Jim Knowles before, and he was very coveted. Everybody wanted this guy. Maybe that's your next like James Pierce type guy. I'm not calling him that. I haven't seen him play really, so it's not a comparison. But that's kind of the way he was getting treated as far as the money he was going to command, and programs are offering him. Huge get to be able to close that down. There's not many people outside of Tennessee were giving Tennessee much of a chance in that one. Everybody thought he was Ohio State bound no matter what. And then he went to LSU. So they're not going to let this kid leave LSU. And, he let South Carolina try to get in the mix, and he goes home. And you're thinking that ship has sailed, and they come back and close the deal. So that shows me they're being aggressive, and that's nice to see them close on a top target like that. In the past couple of years, Tennessee usually comes up second or third in that battle. We've seen so many where Tennessee's the finalist, Tennessee's right there, and then they end up going somewhere else. Ed Boson, the DB from Ohio State that starts for them. That's another one that we thought was going to Tennessee a couple of years ago. I mean, there's just so many of those. So that's good momentum. You got to build on that, and I think more than anything, it just makes you feel good about this defense going into next season. A couple Penn State guys that you've got, Mark Campbell, another one there, the defensive lineman, Gilliam from Penn State. So you got a couple guys that can step right in as starters and know this defense, and that cuts out one of the big concerns, or at least helps cut down on that big concern of Jim Knowles' defense being so complicated in year one. These guys know it, and they'll help their teammates along in it.
Yeah, it's really interesting how they went about that. As much as we're squawking about the offensive side of the ball, you need a quarterback, you need a running back. We'll kind of cross that bridge when it comes, I guess, in the next week or so. But defensively, they've knocked this out of the park, and I got to give them all the credit. It's been really interesting seeing it come together, because everybody just said, "Oh, Jim Knowles, you'll be dealing with a defense that doesn't know what they're doing for 2 years before finally." And Tennessee just said, "Well, why don't we just bring in a bunch of guys that have played for Jim Knowles? And then maybe that'll work." And so that's what they did. I mean, you're bringing in one of the guys who was a signal caller for that defense. And what else could you ask for in that scenario? And Chaz Coleman is obviously the big name. It's interesting because his is really more potential more than it is what he actually has done on the football field. But everything you see in the analysis about that guy is, if you treat him correctly, he's a future first rounder. And that's
edge rusher is probably one of those easier positions to evaluate, because you've got to have length, you've got to have speed, you've got to have size. If you don't have all those things, it really doesn't matter how much of a dog you are. You're not going to be an elite pass rusher. So they see those traits in him, I think, clearly.
I hope so, and I think you have not just Knowles, but you have a set of his coaches coming in who have already worked with these guys. These guys have already worked in Knowles' defense, and it should be really nice. And then you're getting guys I like to commit tonight from Oklahoma State.
Tulane.
Tulane. Sorry, I was thinking Oklahoma State from something we mentioned before. But the kid from Tulane from tonight, and kid from Auburn. You got a DB from Auburn that you're bringing in. It's a really nice, not just overhaul on defense that you've done here. I've been impressed in that way. I think clearly, I think Knowles' name and the setup that they have there is kind of, it turned some heads, and they clearly came in with a plan. And in all respect, it makes me kind of step back and go, how can you be this focused and good on this side of the football? And Josh Heupel, who's the head coach, it's his offense, multiple times in his time here has had one of the best, if not the best offense in America. And we can't get a quarterback? What is the problem? What's getting lost in translation here? But you can't take it away from them. They've done an incredible job on the defense side of the ball here.
Yeah, I think the last thing about the quarterbacks, Kiffin was in the best spot here. Miami, like we said, they liked some of their young guys. They didn't seem like that enthused on going all in on Levitt either, which kind of surprised me. I thought they would. I don't know if it was the injury that scared them off a little bit, But Kiffin having this, I mean, he's a brand new quarterback room. He basically has to rebuild his quarterback room. So he's not worried at all about running anyone off. He's not worried about, do I got to give George McIntyre a raise now, or Faison Brandon, or how do I manage that, or their hurt feelings? I mean, these are real things that you have to consider. And I don't know if that's what prevented Tennessee from closing that deal, but I just think Kiffin had more room to operate, and then he got the kid from Elon. Landon Clark is a nice quarterback, kind of as a backup option if Levitt's not ready to go, or if he does get hurt, if he's not healthy. I just think he had more room for error to go all in on Sam Levitt than Tennessee did, and you can argue that, and it's fair to argue that, because maybe Tennessee will have been wrong in the way they approached this. Again, we'll know 10 months from now, 11 months from now, and the 2026 season's over. But I just think they had an advantage in the way that they were able to pursue Levitt. And I think, how desperate can you get as a coach and still kind of feel good about it? I mean, for Kiffin, that's clearly, there is no limit to that. He'll do whatever. He doesn't care. He has no self-awareness. He'll do whatever it takes to make himself happy, because it's not about, I don't think it's about winning. I don't think it's about anybody else. I think it's about making Lane Kiffin happy, and that's the only thing Lane Kiffin really cares about.
He's absolutely shameless, which, frankly, in his position is somewhat of an advantage. I mean, if you can just be, it's true.
Of course, he's been going on 20 years now, I guess.
He's made it work. He keeps failing forward, and completely unscrupulous. And I think those chickens do come home to roost at a certain point. But yeah, even Nick Saban went out there and danced with recruits a couple times. You got to do it, and so we'll see exactly how it comes together. But at this point, the defense, I think you've really done something nice. You have some pretty serious prospects still out there, like the kid from Missouri. Somebody mentioned it in the comments. Yeah, Damon Wilson.
Yeah.
You have some pieces out there still around where you could maybe have a splash still. I don't know. Maybe you already spent all your money on the defensive side of the ball and the guys that you got, but you probably.
I would love to know what that figure is and is going to be on total on this roster, because clearly you're gonna have to spend like $30 million, I think, to compete for a championship. I think that's real, at least.
Well, and I was listening to, I don't know if it was Basilio or something else over lunch one day in the last week, and they were saying the plan was, I don't know, 12, 14, 15 million bucks, something like that. I don't know. Don't misquote me there. But if that's true, that's not enough. It's just not enough. It isn't. Like, you're not going to compete at that level of money in this college football landscape, in major college football and SEC college football. You're simply not. And this is now, a $30 million game. And as a school, I mean, you have to go, and it has to be $30 million for football, and you have to make room for $4 million for Native Mint and basketball, which Lord knows that was money well spent, wasn't it? Oh boy. And beyond basketball, baseball at this point, you obviously heard as Vitello left, the money he didn't get was a point of contention for him, and it's tough. But if it's actually something like 15 million, that's just not enough.
No,
I have a hard time believing it's that little for Tennessee, but maybe it is. And I mean, I hate it. It's not my money, and I don't have to worry about that. And if I was a billionaire, I'm not sure that's where I would be putting my cash right now. But even still, you got to figure it out, or else you're just not going to compete at that level.
It's the only way to win. It's the only way to win. I mean, development, there is no more building a program and developing players. I mean, if you try to take that route, you get Tennessee season last year, because they tried to fill in some of the gaps with the portal, and they did a nice job with their portal pickups. We've said that they're not aggressive enough, but the guys they do get usually fit and contribute. So they know how to evaluate they just aren't aggressive enough in it. And you're going to have to be. Like, you just have to be. The percentage of your roster made up of portal players that are, in the finals, final four, final eight, whatever, keeps going up. Like, that is just the clear way that you have to build a roster. As you mentioned, older players matter. I mean, you're not going to go win with a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds. You're just not. And Tennessee had way too many of those playing important snaps this season, and that was just the way it worked out. And Tennessee was okay with that, but it's just not the way that you're going to win anymore. And I hate that because I think it goes against everything that sports is about and should be about. Like, you should develop these guys and get them to the point where they can win you a championship. Like, that's what you want to do, but that's not reality anymore. Maybe it changes if there's some structure that gets in with some of the portal stuff. Lord knows that's a long way away if it does happen. But hype on them, they're just going to have to completely buy into this different way. And I think you saw the beginning of that this year. But this year have to take another step forward next year, assuming they're still here next year, which, I think they will be. We'll see. But coming into this portal season, when it opened, it didn't seem like Tennessee was ready. They didn't get guys on campus quick enough. They lost some guys early they thought they were going to get. They did a great job of rebounding and filling in and landing some of their targets. But they got off to a slower start than like in Indiana or some of these other schools. And I know it's easier for Indiana right now as they're ready to play for a national championship. I mean, that's the easiest time ever to recruit if you're a head coach. You got a lot to sell, but they still felt like they were behind. And maybe that woke them up. Maybe they saw what happened, that you cannot have that strategy. I mean, you've got to tamper like crazy, and you've got to have some of this stuff done. You've got to have these visits set up. If these are your top targets, it's not like, well, let's let him go to Texas A&M, and then once we get him here, we'll close the deal. We're confident in our abilities. Now, Texas A&M's good too. They're SEC recruiters too. Like, you let these guys go on other campuses. They have money. They're salesmen. They know what they're doing. Just because it's not Tennessee, you got to give those guys some respect too. Like, they can close deals. I mean, that's what they do, and I feel like they're some of these other programs are just way more aggressive in it.
Yeah. I see in the comments, somebody says encouraging tampering is so lame. There's no integrity. I agree.
Yeah, I don't disagree one bit.
I agree 100%. But you got to play within the game that you're in.
Yeah, it's dumb, but it is what it is.
And that's if you don't, every other coach in America is going to come in and take everybody off your roster. If you could bring anybody in at all without doing it. Because I've said it for so long, and I have prayed for the day that we see Josh Heupel do what Tony Vitello has done for years, where, he would go out and play. I guess this didn't actually happen, but theoretically, they go and they play Virginia in baseball. And after the game, Tony Vitello walks up to Henry Ford and he goes, "Hey, son, you look great out there. Why don't you come down to Knoxville and play for me?"
Or Billy Amick at Clemson.
Billy Amick at Clemson. That's exactly what happened. That's the best example right there. You play Billy Amick in the Super Regional, you beat him, and then Tony Vitello, and then just a few weeks later, Billy Amick is coming to Knoxville, and he's the best player from Clemson, and you steal him. That's just once, Josh Heupel, please, something like that, where you see these guys and you, how did I said it the last couple of weeks, you cradle them into the portal. Just bring them along with you, and then they get in there with a no contact tag or whatever, and they commit to Tennessee instantly. And it kills me. And I think that I'm hoping against hope there, unfortunately. Well,
the Levitt, the way the Levitt thing happened this afternoon, even though it didn't work out for Tennessee, gives me hope that he's like, all right, I got to go be that guy. Because that was so un-Heupel-like. It was so un-Tennessee-like. Every bit of that was very un-Tennessee-like. And I hope we get more details of how they tried to pursue him and exactly what their goal was and how far they pushed the number up and how aggressive they were with the offer. If Heupel and them weren't negatively recruiting against Kiffin, I mean, they're foolish. I mean, I'm not a big fan of negative recruiting because I think it makes you look bad when you have to talk down somebody else to get a kid. But in this instance, what Kiffin's done over these last couple of months, like, there is no integrity with that guy. There is no class, none of that. So, yeah, I would definitely be negatively recruiting against that. And then if Sam Levitt's still okay with going and playing for that guy, if that's the type of coach he wants to play for, I'm not saying he won't have success, but have at it. I guess I don't know. Like again, that's that needle that you have to thread of what are you comfortable with, what are you not comfortable with, what do you put up with, how much do you put up with a really talented player. There's guys like James Pierce. Yeah, we've heard whispers about some of this behind the scenes stuff with James Pierce. I think some of the character issue stuff was blown out of proportion, but there was real noise and there was real reasons that stuff came out, and they managed that pretty well. I thought with
Yeah,
James Pierce, so they can do it and they have done it, but I think they need to widen the net a little bit on who they're willing to do it with.
David in the comments says Basilio said that Heupel is working under the NCAA scrutiny and tell kids that they get dirty. I don't know exactly what he means by that, but that's kind of, I was sort of saying that earlier. I don't know if they're still spooked by the NCAA, maybe.
What are they going to do
But
at this point?
exactly. Them and what army? Come in here and take it. Come in here and tell us that we're breaking the rules. What rules? What rules are you going to tell us we're breaking? There aren't any. And if that's true, I really hope that's not true. Surely they're not that dumb.
Oh, we got a Bo Callahan comment. That's my favorite thing about Sam Levitt, and that's what I texted our group text. I think at some point over the weekend is I can't figure out if Sam Levitt is Bo Callahan from the movie Draft Day, if you're not familiar, or if he's completely misunderstood. Because I haven't followed Sam Levitt the way Arizona State fans probably have, where you see him talk, multiple times a week or however often he would talk to the media. I did watch one like long form interview with him over the weekend. I was like, he's saying the right things, right? But so did Bo Callahan in Draft Day, so he may be, Bo Callahan. We got to find out if anyone went to his birthday party, I guess. Hopefully everyone gets those references.
Yeah, admittedly, I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, you should. It's a treat.
I've heard the song "Draft Day" by Drake, where he talks about Johnny Manziel, a true classic. But I don't know. We can keep going around in circles on all of that. We got to talk basketball here to end the show. But I'm very I'm on pins and needles to see where they go with this quarterback situation. Congratulations on everything that's happened with the defense. Keep that up. Keep that momentum going. Honestly, we need a couple more guys, probably 2, 3, 4 more guys, frankly. But on the offense side of the ball, let's see what you can get at the running back position and at quarterback, and we'll talk about it next week.
You mentioned Celeste Moa there real quick, that he entered the portal. That's a former Vol commit that went to Utah. I would assume he would go to Michigan though, with Kyle Whittingham, who he signed with. That would be my bet.
Yeah,
you never know.
That's true. And Ty says I'm off to watch the NFL. There is an NFL game tonight, isn't there?
Yeah.
What, Steelers and
Houston?
Yeah, Steelers and Texans.
Great NFL games all weekend, man.
The Titans sucked so bad that I just have checked all the way out on the NFL. I usually am a playoff watcher. I probably will watch tonight just because there's literally nothing else on. But anywho, let's finish with this. Well, I'll say anything else worth noting, Zach?
No, I think we about covered every bit of at least quarterback talk, and the rest of it, as long as keep getting some of those defensive guys, like you said. There's a couple that are still out there. The kid from Missouri. The one kid I was surprised that Tennessee didn't get involved with was A.J. Harris, the Penn State corner who had started his career at Georgia. Going into this season, he was like mocked as a first-round pick. I don't think his 25 season was that great. He's going to Indiana, and Tennessee never really got involved there. So I don't know if that's one that Jim Knowles was just like, I'd rather not. Just didn't mesh.
Maybe.
But it was a bit surprising. He's a talented kid.
Yeah. There were a few of those. That kid that ended up going to Virginia Tech, it's kind of surprised they didn't get him.
Yeah. Hey, shocking. Boo Carter went to Colorado. Did anyone see that one coming?
Whoa. God, it's how happy is his mom right now? She's got to be so hyped. Taking pictures with Dion.
The funny part about that is when the portal first opened, or days, when the portal intel first started coming out, right? One of the Boo Carter articles was, I think it was on 3, and I'm sure this was coming from the Boo Carter side of things. Not throwing shade at on 3; they've done a great job with all this, but it's like Alabama and all these schools like Texas, maybe Ohio. I don't know. It was like all the big name schools are expected to show interest in Boo Carter, and then I think it was Vanderbilt and Colorado was the only schools he visited. It was always going to be Colorado, right? But it was, I don't think Alabama ever had any interest, any amount of interest in Boo Carter.
I was kind of talking about this in another group text that I have, just with the old guys I went to college with. There's a crazy market for, I don't know what, 10, 15% of guys. That's just completely ridiculous. You're having to overpay. It's absolutely insane. And then every tier below that, it's, like Boo Carter, you would think with the talent that he showed at times, that his market would be great, but he showed that he's a problem off the field. And so it just dried up like that. And there are guys that I've seen go in where I'm like, surely he's going to have a lot of students, and they just don't. They just don't have a ton of teams chasing after them. There's only so many places that you can go, and the market's just not there. Not to get into the economics of all of this, but it is pretty interesting. And then you have, and you have like a Jake Merklinger who basically has nowhere to go.
The chat's about taught me into Taron Diggins. Let's get him on campus and get him QB1 here, because I'm all in now. I'm believing it. I'm seeing these numbers. Let's do it.
42 straight completions in one game.
NCAA record against the air. That's good.
Yes, and only lost 2 games this year. They were to Mercer and ETSU, but still, but they're 38-2, 38 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Pretty insane. I think it's time to go over to. Where's Western Carolina?
Cullowhee?
Sure. You live over there. You would definitely.
Yeah. It's
time to take a trip.
It's in the western.
Not too far away. Yeah, not too far away.
Yeah, it's just over the mountain or in the mountain. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's finish with this. Basketball. Went to Florida. Got their butt kicked up and down the court. And it just kind of continues like this team is just kind of good. And that's about it. It seems like, unless some corner is turned, and unless you get Amari Evans playing consistently good basketball, unless you get, it just doesn't seem like it's going to click into place for Amari Abram, or an Ethan Berg, somebody like that. Is there a kid in the G League that we could go pick up? Somebody, just a 2 guard from the G League,
Bronny
maybe
James.
like
Bronny.
Hey, Bronny, come on down, my guy. We need you. Maybe a Dalton Connect. Yeah, I feel like a Dalton Connect would be perfect in this environment.
Yeah.
They just need a 2 guard, just really bad. Well, they have a 2 guard, and they don't really have a true point guard. I said it last week. What they need is they need Jacoby Gillespie playing the 2, and they need Zakai Ziegler playing 1. That's what they need. If you had him and then you added in Jordan Gainey being able to come back, which was kind of close to being a possibility, they just didn't get granted their extra year. I think you're undefeated right now and buzzing towards a 1 seed. But such is life. Things don't work out that way, and so you're missing a point guard. Jacoby Gillespie has to drag this team to any success that it has right now. Him and Jalen Carey. And it's it's tough. I think you're a favorite against Texas A&M at home. You're going to be a favorite against Kentucky. Kentucky stinks. But of course, Kentucky stunk last year, and they beat you twice out of 3. You beat them in the one that counted, but you didn't beat them until it counted, and you should have beat them in the regular season. So I'm not sleeping on that one. I just think. I have unless Nate Ament takes a drastic turn upwards, I'm not sure that it's gonna click into place. I'm starting to kind of get a feeling of like, oh man, this is a 2nd round exit team. It just is like that. The pieces aren't falling into place like they have. They started falling into place around this time last year. They're just not, and I hate it. Because I want it so badly, especially with Nate Ament. Long term, he's a special talent. I'm not sure he's going to be this year.
Yeah, I'm starting to agree with you. Clearly, this team can compete with anybody in the country when they're playing their best, but can they get past the second round and do it 4 games in a row? I mean, there's nothing to suggest so far that the answer is yes by any means. They just haven't been consistent enough. So, I mean, things can change. It's still there. Like maybe something clicks and they just get it going. But I mean, we said it last week, said the week before that. Feels like we're probably going to say it again next week. We'll see. But it is definitely starting to feel that way. Hopefully, the atmosphere is good next Saturday. That's a big recruiting game for Tennessee. It's one of the few winter events that you kind of get there on a Saturday afternoon where you can bring some guys in. I think Tennessee does have some recruits coming in that will be there for that one. So you need to win that game for several reasons.
And I mean, on top of that, it's actually, I see in the comments right there, somebody said it. It's Kentucky's best players out for the season.
I mean, even more must win.
Yeah, Lowe is just carrying them. I didn't see he's out for the season. I definitely saw that he was hurt. But I mean, it's him and it's Jaden Quaintance, and then it's who? And so you better beat them, because otherwise that's a terrible loss. Texas A&M can score though. Bucky McMillan has that team. I mean, they're serious. They're not a nobody. You should beat them. But yeah,
yeah, he's a bit of a character after that whole Auburn deal.
He definitely is, and that game was awesome.
Yeah,
they beat Auburn. Auburn made a last-second three, but ultimately he didn't get it off in time. Yeah, that goofy post-game interview where he was like, "I can't hear you. I can't hear you." Hey, but yeah, like good opportunities here. A win over A&M's nice. You better beat Kentucky. I don't know what the next game is. Obviously, we'll have a show before the next game after Kentucky. But you should be 2-0 after this week, both home games. I want to say is at Alabama the next game, and that's another one kind of like going to Florida where you're just like, yeah, just go ahead and put the L on the win-loss column there.
That was the thing about the Florida game is you didn't really expect to win that game, but
no,
you would have thought it would have been more competitive than that. They
brutalized you, and yeah, that is what it is. You go to Alabama and at Georgia. Georgia, not a pushover.
No,
old Danny White's brother has figured out a little bit of something there. Another team you're probably better than, but it's at Georgia, so that's not going to be easy. So, schedule doesn't exactly lighten up. You get, and then the game after that, you get to play old Steve. Steve comes on home to Knoxville, and you get to play Auburn.
I'm sure that bowling. I'm sure that won't be. I'm sure it'll be a calm crowd.
I mean that was the exact time when I was in college, and Steve.
What did you think about Bruce saying that he probably should have played him more? That he didn't play him as much because he didn't want to be accused of favoritism, and then just handed his kid the head coaching job in the SEC without really ever.
Yeah, literally in a pure move of nepotism, handing your son, who has only ever just been an assistant coach for you, the head coaching job. Yeah. No favoritism there. I mean, there were some moments with Steve Pearl where I was like, oh, that was a good defensive play, but that was about as good as it ever got. Steve, I mean, it was like, hey, he got a steal. Look at Steve. He's out there. I mean, that was
he's out there. He's playing.
Yeah. Oh, Steve is out there on the court. There's no doubt he is a player in this game. That was it for the most part. God, that situation is so ridiculous. I mean, that's another one. You better friggin' beat them. That's no excuse. There's plenty. Like, you look down through here, this sets up for Tennessee to be like a 4 or 5 seed, and it's going to be an ample opportunity for you to make a Sweet 16, Elite 8 again. And you're going to have to play one to make it an Elite 8. You're going to have to play one game where you beat a team that's better than you, and that's the way it sets up when you're a 5 seed like that. I think that's where they're at. This isn't a meltdown team. You do have to play at Vanderbilt and have Vanderbilt at home. They're formidable. this year. I'm still not entirely sure exactly how good they are because
Nate
I think
Oates
it
isn't
turns
either.
out, yeah, Nate Oates said they haven't played anybody, and he was right at that time. And then he went and got his butt kicked by Vandy, but that was at Vandy, and they still. I mean, I don't know how they got away with having such a fluff schedule to this point.
Isn't LSU kind of the same way this year?
Yes, because going into conference play, they were close to them. They were like 13-1. Now they're 12-1. Now they're 12-4. 0-3 in the SEC. So, but Vandy, yeah, I mean they still don't even at Texas, who went to Alabama and won this weekend. Florida at Arkansas. At Arkansas, that's really the first game where I go like, okay, you are away. You're playing a good team. Florida should beat them, but yeah, we'll see. I think Florida's front court will give Vandy a very, very hard time. They're very guard heavy. From what I've watched, you saw Vandy in person.
Yeah.
Very athletic at the guard spots. Very, very athletic at the guard spots.
Yeah, and I saw him play Wake Forest, who was not very good, so probably not a great barometer there, but they outplayed them.
Yes. So we'll see what happens, man. I just come on, Nate Admit. Let's go. It's time. It's time to turn it on. And then we look back and we go, remember when Nate Admit, he had that really rough start to the season, but then that game against Kentucky, he scored 20 and it was all uphill from there. That's what I want. We'll see. I'm Charlie Burris. That's Zach Reagan. Thank you for tuning in. Great discussion on the transfer portal. We'll see what happens, and we'll talk about it next week. I gotta think Tennessee has a quarterback by then. Somebody.
We'll see.
That quarterback might be George McIntyre. We'll see. But yeah, we will be back then. Thanks again. We could not do it without all the folks in the comments. Very literally, the show depends on you. And we appreciate it every week. So thanks again. I think that's it. And I did it again where I didn't have the stream pulled up, Zach.
Gotta get you some sticky notes and put it up there.
I know. Yeah, here we go. And A to Z has so many live shows now. Tune in the A to Z Sports Network. I don't care who you're a fan of. If you're not a Tennessee fan, we got somebody for you. That's for sure. But that is it. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to y'all next week.
See you guys later.